Welcome back to part 2 of Out is the New In, You Have a Purpose podcast. I want you to enjoy an amazing conversation that I am having with Art Estrada, a very good friend of mine, who is sharing his authentic, unique story.
I've seen their struggle in the sense where I know they love me as their son. Right. I know there's this big part of me that they don't really approve of, but yet their beliefs around it aren't supported by my lived experience. You know, I think they were told at a time that like people who were gay were drug addicts, or they were sexual deviants, or whatever the case may be, and they see this relationship that I've built with my husband and how we live our lives and how successful we are in our careers, and how we're loved by the many people that we have around us, and it contradicts their own beliefs or their own biases with it. I think me living my authentic truth has helped them move that pendulum for themselves. And understand that like not every gay person is the same, and these ideas of what they've been told what a gay person is aren't always true. And I've had these conversations with my mom, and she's told me what her struggle has been. Her beliefs tell her this, but she has a different experience now having a gay son. So I almost feel like now it's my onus, especially in my family, to be that model, to be that representative of the community, so that way those biases we can help deteriorate those biases in our larger community. If we don't start at home or with our families, right. We can't. That's how we can make a more profound impact, on our greater society. My older brother was a very, very macho football player guy, and he was actually one person that I was really afraid to tell when I first came out. And I immediately thought, because he would say like gay slurs, and as it was very common back in the day. But the minute I told him, he rallied behind me. Never once made me feel bad about it.
That's awesome. And
I almost felt guilty because I already immediately thought he was going to be not supportive. But he has been one of my biggest allies, and I'm very, very thankful for him.
That's awesome. And he becomes your huge support system,
yep. Right?
Especially based on where your parents were.
Yeah.
So it's actually very, what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfilling that you were very concerned, right, of a reaction, because you had a perception of how he was going to respond, right? Just like parents had a perception, and that perception's changed over time and conversation. And I think a big piece of it was you truly setting boundaries.
Yeah.
And saying enough's enough, per se, and this is who I am, and accept this, or I guess an ultimatum of don't accept this.
Well, one thing I learned is that the only power I truly have over my parents, not that I want to have any power over them, but is my presence, right? Whether I want to be engaged with them or not. I think there was a point in time, after I came out, that I tried to have a relationship with them, but it was only on their terms. I could only go over, but David, my husband, couldn't come over to the house. We could do family gatherings, but he had to not be included. And for a minute, I would go along with it, but I didn't realize the detriment it was also doing to my partner. Sure. He wasn't feeling included in my family, which he should have, because his family included me in everything, which even sometimes I didn't want to be included, but but they did, and I appreciate and love them for it. And I remember having a conversation with my mom. I think this was around the time we had decided to get married. This is in 2015, and I said, if you don't, this isn't a phase. This isn't something that's going to change. This is the person I'm choosing to spend the rest of my life with. If you can't get behind that, then I don't know what we're doing here.
Right.
And it was a really hard conversation to have. And like I had mentioned to you, they did not attend our wedding for their own beliefs. And I didn't learn until years afterwards how much that affected my mom, that she chose, even though this was through her own volition, she chose to do this. She chose not to participate. But I knew she wanted to be there. She made it very clear that she wanted to be there, but she couldn't. And I think I've grown some empathy or compassion for that internal conflict. I don't always understand it or why that's the conflict she's choosing to have. But I feel for her.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely does. Because she's your mother.
Right.
Right? And you have empathy and sympathy
Right.
for her, even if it's just a thought process, right? And a perception that she has.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, but it was. I don't think it was until I assessed those boundaries that I was able to have a healthier, different relationship with her. I know my relationship with her has never truly been what it was. Since when I was a kid, it's evolved definitely since then. But I think we have a healthier adult relationship now. More because I've even told them before, it's like I choose to want to have a relationship with you, but I don't need to. Not because I don't love my mom and I don't want her in my life. I've grown to be an independent person and to create my own family and to have my own support system, that I've grown past my family of origin in many ways. And I still love them. I still care for them. I still want them to be around. But I can't fully be vested into them if they're not going to fully accept me. So I've had to create some boundaries, and I think until I did, they didn't understand, or they now understand how serious I was about being my authentic self and being accepted for that.
Right. Yeah. And I also think that, being able to have that opportunity to say, and know what you needed individually, right? And reaching out for that therapist resource. And luckily, you actually found someone that truly gelled with you, right? Because I heard horror stories of, it just did not go well. And now you're having to go to 1, 2, 3, whoever you really have a bond with. And that's unfortunate. But I think having that support system has been absolutely huge for who you are, to allow you to be the authentic self that you are.
I agree. I think, what I've learned in therapy is that, as much as our trauma and our past and our childhood kind of helps shapes us to the way we think and kind of experience the world, it doesn't always have to be the narrative, and we can kind of create our own narrative for ourselves. And, what I learned in therapy was that, my trauma doesn't necessarily have to be my crutch. It doesn't have to be my experience with my family doesn't have to be my crutch. It can help me. It can help become a strength. And I can learn a lot from this experience, and I have. I've learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I'm capable of. And I learned a lot about what I truly want out of life. And the irony is that it's not really far from some of the core values my parents taught me growing up. Having a family, being loyal, being supportive of your family, that's what I strive to do every day with my husband. And even though the picture of my family isn't the family that they saw me having, I still hold those values that they taught me about what it means to be a family.
And those will never go away.
No, they'll never go away.
Yeah. For people that are listening or watching, what words of encouragement do you have from your process in life? What would you say for someone out there that's in a position that you were in?
I think, especially for like a member of the Latino community, there's a lot of stigma around homosexuality. I know it's changing a lot, but one of the things that I can encourage people to do is even if it feels like you can't be open with your family, you have to be open with yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to be true with yourself. I lived many years denying who I was, for the sake of others, and that led me down some really dark paths. And what I want to encourage other people to do is to really, truly, even though if it feels painful or scary, really try to be your authentic self every day, and share that with the people around you, because more likely than not, they're going to accept you for who you are,
right?
Not for who you want them, not for who you want them to see you as.
Right.
That's just a mask.
Right.
So, show up, and the first person you should be showing up for is yourself.
Right. I love that. It's so true. Right. We have to be the number one priority, right? For our mental health, our emotional, physical, spiritual health, whatever that encompasses, right? We need to focus and make those priorities for us individually, and then move forward.
Absolutely.
And let's say that you know that it's going to be a very difficult conversation with parents, so your siblings, right, might be the first go-to, or a very good friend that you know is going to support you in that conversation.
Right. And then, and I, to piggyback off that, I have very close friends that during my darkest times with my family, when my family was essentially, was not in the picture and I felt very alone, they were the people that I relied on. They were the people I could be myself with. And I'm very thankful for all of them that have been in my life, that have supported me through really dark times, because I think leaning on those people when I was struggling really helped bring me down the journey to where I'm at today. And I consider them my family.
Right.
I love them like my family. They are my family, and and I will never. I will always appreciate the time that I spent with them, and I will always appreciate everything they've done for me, even if it was just picking up a phone call and talking to me,
right?
Or having a coffee with me, or having me over for dinner. And we have my friend Jason. He has these parents he has two parents who are very much, they're very fun people, and his mom, it kind of just brings all of his friends in, and treats us like we're her son, and she even refers to me as like her son, and I there's not enough things I can say good about her. I don't think she even realizes how much of an impact she's made on my life, especially in times where, like, on holidays I don't spend with my parents because they're Jehovah's Witnesses, so those traditions that we once held, we don't always get to experience together. And being able to experience that with other families and accepting me in, it's been truly powerful, and it's been truly necessary in my journeys to feel part of a family unit. And I'm very thankful. I have a lot of great people around me, and have really supported me and lifted me up over the years, and I can't be more thankful for them.
That's awesome. I love to hear that you've met so many awesome people that truly are loving, accepting, supportive, and create value, right, for you and your husband, and just gives you that family entity, even though it may not be blood, right? So that's awesome. I love it. Is there anything else whatsoever that we haven't touched on that you could mention?
Well, like as we talked about, and like as time has passed, I've given my parents a lot of grace to kind of come to terms with it on their own time. And I think sometimes we as gay people who come from families that are not accepting of us are not always patient for that time to come. And I think what I've learned over the years is just giving everyone they're giving everyone the time, their own time, to process whatever they need to process. Sometimes people don't always get to where we want them to be, or where we need them to be, on our timetable. Everyone has their own timetable, and there were many years that I never thought my relationship with my family would change, that we would always be distant, that we would never talk. And I was very, very sad. But to think now where I'm at today with my parents, I'm actually sometimes surprised that things have gotten so much better over the years. And not because they've stopped believing having a Christian faith, or because I think they've seen my value as their son, and they want a relationship with me, and they're willing to at least try to meet me in some middle ground.
Sure.
And like I said, it's taken a lot of time from their standpoint. So I guess the last thing I would say is that if you have parents that are not accepting of you, just give them time.
Because they need to process just as you did
Right.
when you were realizing who you were.
Right. Sometimes people process things quicker. Sometimes
Sure.
it takes 10 plus years. But, time does heal a lot of wounds. And through my own mental health journey and seeking therapy, and also encouraging my parents to seek out their own mental health journeys, I've really seen them grow and change as people. And I'm really appreciative that I didn't just shut them out of my life.
Right.
Our relationship may not be the same, and it probably never will be, but it's better to. I only get one mom and dad,
Right.
and I'm glad that they're still in my life, even during times when I never thought I'd speak to them again.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
Yes. And I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come sit down with me.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed this conversation, and thank you for
Absolutely.
giving me the space to
Oh.
share my story and to continue doing the work that you're doing. It's truly
Thank you so
powerful.
much. No, I thank you for sharing your authentic, unique self, and just put it out there, and sharing that for so many people that truly need to hear what your process in life, right? Your path and where you are currently, that they can feed off of that and grab a hold of it and truly go, yes, things can change, and hopefully give them strength and power to come out to, if it's not parents, it's a sibling, it's a very good friend, so they can truly be their authentic, unique self.
I agree.
Awesome. Art, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love you, man.
Love you
Appreciate
too.
it.